I know you guys are thinking it, so I'd like to address this right away before we get started. No, there are no jokes about the Chicago Bulls in this movie. I'm very sorry. I know you guys were wanting to know about that. Figured you should know right now. Without further ado, though, let's talk about the rest of the movie. Venom: The Last Dance is the concluding chapter to the trilogy that was set forth in motion by the 2018 Venom movie that once again stars Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock / Venom. They are now on the run from the law after the events of Let There Be Carnage, and it seems like the danger is catching up to them. They're sort of running out of options. At the same time, the threats that were established in the first movie in regards to where Venom had run from and that impending threat has caught up to him as well. And so now with the world at stake, they have to try and save everything and be the lethal protector. And that's about the gist of The Last Dance. That's what's happening. It's the big finale to wrap up all the loose ends that were established from the first movie. The Venom movies are truly an interesting phenomenon to me because I wouldn't necessarily say either one of these movies was particularly great, but at the same time, there is an entertainment value to them that I couldn't help but appreciate at times. And so it turns into this very paradoxical experience that has garnered its fans, but it just makes for this very bizarre experience when you're watching the movies. I completely understand why people love these movies though. There is something genuinely kind of endearing about them at times that even when they're not working, and a lot of times they really don't work, there is something so, like I said, heartfelt about the relationship between Eddie and Venom and these two getting to know each other and working with one another to, just help other people, that you can't help but be enamored by some of that. And Tom Hardy is having such a great time playing this that I can't even be mad about it at the end of the day. I'm happy for him. He got 3 movies over here where you can really tell he had the time of his life. And it's very much something that comes through in spades when you watch The Last Dance. There's a lot of that in here, and it makes for some of the more fun moments of the movie. Whenever he gets a chance to really bond with Venom, those are the moments where I was the most invested. And thankfully, there's a chunk of that because a lot of the movie focuses around that aspect of it. It leads to some funny humor and banter between them. That is something that has always been the strong point of these 3 movies. Every time it went into other plot lines, like in the first movie with Riz Ahmed's character, or stuff with Carnage in the second one, or in this movie, something that's going on with Area 51 or the area within Area 51 with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Juno Temple, that stuff is way less interesting, and it feels like it's there to have some kind of a story as things happen. But for the most part, what you get with The Last Dance is a movie where it's just Eddie and Venom on a road trip and a bunch of stuff is going on, and then eventually there's a big third act that happens. And until that point, the movie is all over the place. There are sequences which are interesting, and then it's followed by sequences with a ton of plot exposition and details that don't really amount to much at all. There's in fact 5 different things that are discussed in this movie and are set up, and they lead to nothing. And I just gotta say that there are a couple of big things in particular that really don't result in much by the end. And I don't know how most people are gonna feel about that, but I can definitely understand the frustration with that. And yet, at the same time, when that big third act commences, it's genuinely very fun. And there are some moments over there that were actually quite entertaining. Whenever that popped off, I thought, oh, this is great. I mean, it's very chaotic and silly, but also it feels like there's this pulse with the movie to try and make this a big grand ending for the character. And in those moments it shined. There's also a detour point where they go to Vegas. There's some funny moments over there too. There's a dance sequence which is extremely random. But again, there's something heartfelt about all of this. But I think my biggest issue with The Last Dance is one that sort of encompasses the entire Venom trilogy so far, which is basically what exactly did all of this add up to? Because in a lot of ways, I have now seen 3 movies with Eddie and Venom just doing some stuff as some random events happen every now and then, but it doesn't really add up to much. Like, there is nothing about The Last Dance or Let There Be Carnage or the first Venom that has really had a profound effect when it comes to the rest of the world around those two. Because everything else in the world seems to still be pretty much the same, you know? It's still 365 days in a year, 24 hours a day, you know, breakfast in the morning, just another day in paradise. So I'm just kind of curious about, like, what exactly was the end goal over here. And also the fact that this universe is still going, so I feel like at some point you'll try to have something more with this character, which I'm curious what would that be, because this Sony Marvel stuff is still going on. Kraven the Hunter is coming out later this year. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. The one thing that this does do a lot better than the other 2 movies, though, is the violence. This is definitely a harder PG-13 than the other 2. It seems like a lot of complaints were heard and they were trying to make it a lot edgier. There's some actual blood and gore in this one. There's this monster alien thing which eats people and it sprays blood out of its head, at the back of its head, which is genuinely a deranged design, and it actually was pretty gnarly to see that. So you'll find gnarly to be a word I say a couple of times over the next few days. I'm foreshadowing something else you're about to see. But it's just very interesting, you know, to see that heightened up, and it makes those action sequences work a lot better. At the end of the day, when it comes to The Last Dance and when it comes to this trilogy, again, I'm just all over the place on it. I'm not sure if I like these movies or not, but I will miss these characters, weirdly. Like, at the end of the day, I would want to see them again if I get the opportunity. Although I would like them to be in better movies too. I don't want them to be in tonal and weirdly written messes with some very scattered dialogue and with subplots that genuinely make a difference, rather than not really adding up to much. There's one thing that I'm assuming most people are very interested in, not really going to work out very much for you if that's something that you are looking for, and that's the most spoiler-free way to say that. But overall, I'm just kind of all over the place on The Last Dance. If you're somebody who really enjoyed those first 2 Venom movies, though, I think you'll have a blast with this one. I don't see how you don't enjoy this. If you did not like the last 2 Venom movies very much, then you probably won't like this at all. It's just such an anomaly of an experience. But for my money's worth, I'm gonna give Venom The Last Dance a 6.5 out of 10. For every positive and negative. It's just a wave. What an anomaly of a trilogy. What a fascinating experience this has been. I'm curious what it'd be like going down the line, you know, like when I rewatch it at some point, you know, just, I feel like it would be a very interesting watch, to say the least. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.